Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli wa nusallimu ala rasulihil kareem wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa man tabi'ahum bi ihsanin ila yawmiddin. Faqad qala Allahu tabaraka wa ta'ala fil Qur'an al-Kareem wal Furqan al-Hamid. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Wasta'inu bis sabri was salah. وقال جل وعلا في مقام آخر فاقرؤوا ما تيسر من القرآن. وعن أنس رضي الله تعالى عنه قال أقيمت الصلاة فأقبل علينا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم بوجهه فقال أقيموا صفوفكم وتراصوا فإني أراكم من وراء ظهري. صدق الله مولانا العظيم ونحن على ذلك من الشاهدين والشاكرين والحمد لله رب العالمين. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. ربنا يسر ولا تعسر وتمم بالخير وبك نستعين يا فتاح ربي زدني علما. اللهم صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم. My dear respected brothers and elders, sisters, we continue inshallah with the topic of Salah in congregation and Salah being performed in Jama'ah. In our last day session, we spoke a lot about the rewards for Salah in Jama'ah. We spoke a lot about the ahadith of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam concerning Salah in Jama'ah. We spoke about traditions of the Sahabas, the aqwal and the statements of the Sahabas radiyallahu ta'ala anhum ajma'een with regards to the performance of Salah in Jama'ah, its importance and the warning for those who neglect Salah in Jama'ah. We started to mention the differences of opinion among the scholars with regards to the stringent opinions of what they consider Salah in Jama'ah. Some have said Fardul Ain, some had said Fardul Kifaya, some had said Wajib, some had said it was Sunnatun Mu'akkadatun, and that was the view of the Hanafi scholars. It was Sunnatun Mu'akkadatun, that is close to Wajib. And we started to mention about the Imam of Salah. He must be baligh and he must be sane. He must have reached the age of puberty in order to lead other people in Salah. We explained that a minor cannot lead elderly people in Salah. The person must be sane. They must be in their right senses. They must be not mad. The person must be a male. In other words, a female cannot lead males in Salah. And that is directly from the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Different ahadith, akhiruhunna min haythu akharahunna Allah. Place them behind as how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed them behind. Nabi alayhi salatu wassalam, there is no instance in his lifetime whereby he allowed women to lead men in Salah. So the person has to be male in order for him to lead other males in Salah. The Imam of the Salah also must be capable of reciting the compulsory amount of qiraat correctly. The person who is leading the Salah, they must be able to recite the compulsory amount of qiraat correctly. And we spoke about this in the compulsory elements of Salah with regards to qiraat. Qiraat that is fard in Salah, it's one long ayat or three short ayats. And a person who is leading the Salah, he must be capable of reciting this amount. If he cannot recite, because the one behind, if he leads someone who is capable of reciting that, then his Salah, their Salah will not be valid. The person who is following his Salah will not be valid, because the person who is behind, he could have led this Salah and his qiraat would have been a qiraat for the person behind. The person behind would have not had to worry about recitation of Quran, So that would have solved the situation if the person who could have recited led the salah. So therefore, the person who is leading salah must be capable of reciting that amount of Quran which is essential to perform the salah. And also the person must be free from being in the state of ma'adhur, being an excused person. The person who is leading salah, my dear respected brothers and sisters, must be a person who is free from certain types of excuses which are considered excuses in the Sharia. For example, the person, they have continuous flow of urine, continuous flow of wind, and it does not stop. We explain that person who is considered to be a ma'adhur, an excused person. They have a wound that is bleeding constantly and it cannot stop. For such people, they cannot lead a jama'ah or other people who are healthy and they are not ma'adhur. So the person who is the imam, he must not be a ma'adhur. He must not be in a state of a ma'adhur in order for him to lead healthy people. A person performing salah with uncleanliness beyond the maximum allowable limit due to the absence of clean clothing cannot be the imam of a person performing salah with full purification or with uncleanliness less than the maximum allowable limit. Now, a person is performing salah, but for some reason or the other, they had no choice but to perform salah with a garment that it had more than the allowable limit of najasa upon it. For example, we know that the size of a dirham, 1 inch in diameter, with regards to blood, is the maximum allowable limit with regards to blood, urine, stool. So a person, they had no other clothing at that time, or they did not have anything else to cover themselves. So therefore, they had to perform salah with that garment. They cannot lead other people in salah who has less impurities upon them, who does not have beyond the maximum allowable limit of najasat on their clothing. So the person who has less najasat or has no najasat, they can lead the salah. But the person who has najasat beyond the maximum allowable limit due to the absence of clean clothing or absence of water to remove that, etc., such a person cannot be the imam of those who have full purification, or they have a little amount of najasat upon them, but not the amount that is considered to be the maximum allowable limit that we have spoken about in Kitab al-Tahara. A person also who is the imam and due to a speech defect, he cannot recite properly, he cannot lead those people who can recite properly. Sometimes a person may have such a stammering problem whereby they cannot recite Quran or that amount of Quran which is considered to be sufficient for the compulsory element of salah. Such a person would not be allowed to lead other people who can recite properly. We are speaking about, my dear respected brothers and sisters, those people who actually have a tongue defect, for example, or they have some defect of the mouth and they cannot speak properly, they cannot recite properly. If they were to recite to them, they may be reciting, but to other people, it's like it doesn't make sense at all. You cannot understand what is being said because of it just sounds like a murmur based upon whatever situation they have with their mouth. So such a person, my dear respected brothers and sisters, who has a speech defect or out of ignorance, meaning that this person, they actually do not know and they have not learnt. They have become a Muslim for probably the last few months or in the last few weeks, but they don't know any Quran. They cannot lead other people in salah. It is a condition for the muqtadi to make intention to follow the imam while it is not a condition for the Imam to make intention to lead, it is a condition for the Muqtadi to make intention to follow the Imam, while it is not a condition for the Imam to make intention to lead. And we will mention various rulings, my dear respected brothers and sisters, with regards to Salah in congregation and Imamat of Salah, leading of Salah. When a person is going to follow another individual in Salah, they must make an intention that they are going to follow that person in Salah. If they do not make an intention that they are going to follow that person in Salah, then they will have no Salah. The person who is following, my dear respected brothers and sisters, the person who is the Muqtadi, and you have the Imam. Two things are being said here with regards to intention. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Al-a'malu bin-niyat, that actions are by intentions. And therefore, we spoke about intention being something as compulsory when we perform our Salah. And when we are performing our Salah, we must understand that I am performing Salah. So likewise, when we are going to follow the Imam, it must be in our intention. And as we said before, intention is in the heart. We do not have to recite it by the tongue. If we want to verify our intention, no problem. We can move our tongue and we can say it with our mouth. Oh Allah, I intend to perform 4 rakat of Fard Isha Salah following the Imam. There's no problem in that, inshallah. But we come into the masjid and our intention is there, I'm going to follow the Imam. That is sufficient also. So the Muqtadi, he must have intention to follow the Imam, but the Imam does not necessarily have to have intention to lead the people. The Imam does not necessarily have to have intention to lead the males in Salah. But the Muqtadi, he has to have intention to follow the Imam. The Imam must make intention, however, if he intends to lead other females in order for their Salah to be correct. The Imam must make intention for the Imamat of females following him in order for their Salah to be correct. This is according to the view of the Hanafi scholars, my dear respected brothers and sisters. You have the Imam, you have the followers. The Imam, as we said, must be a male. You have the followers who will be males. You will have males, adults, males, children. And you will have female adults, female children. Now, with regards to intention, as we said, a person who is following the Imam, he must have intention to follow the Imam. If a man is leading other women in Salah, he must make intention for them in order for the woman's Salah to be valid. If a man is leading other women in Salah, he is the Imam of the Jamaa'ah. He is the Imam of the Masjid. And he is unaware that there are women in the ladies section. And he started the Salah, he led the Salah, he performed the Asr Salah. Afterwards he was informed, Imam Sahib, there were women upstairs. He said, but I didn't know that, I didn't make intention for them. Their Salah is not valid. Of course the Imam's Salah is valid, he did everything correct. And the followers of him, their Salah is also in order, as long as they made intention to follow the Imam. But the woman, in order for the woman's Salah to be valid, then it is incumbent upon the Imam to have intention for them. Practically speaking, with regards to males and how they must have intention for other males, sometimes we are performing Salah and lo and behold, somebody comes and follows us in that particular Salah. We did not intend for them to follow that Salah, but they knew we were performing, for example, the farz of that Salah. For example, Maghrib. If a person came in late for the Maghrib Salah, the Imam had completed the Salah, so therefore they knew that they had to perform their Salah by themselves. or they wanted to perform salah in Jama'ah and they realized that somebody else was making wudu and they went to perform their salah in the back of the masjid, outside the area of the masjid. Now they decided to follow them. The person but they did not meet the person to speak to them, but the person said Allahu Akbar. Because it is the Maghrib Salah, for the sake of simplicity we are bringing an example like this. He knew that the person would not perform a Salah before the Farz of Maghrib if he follows the Hanafi madhab. And therefore he just went, stand up by the person's side and said Allahu Akbar. In this case, the Salah will be valid. The Muqtadi makes intention to follow the Imam. The Imam did not make intention for the Muqtadi, but there is no problem in that. There is no problem in that. As again, the Muqtadi must have the intention, the Imam does not have to have the intention. The Muqtadi must be ahead of the Imam. That is, the heels of the Muqtadi must be behind the heels of the Imam, or at least equal to that of the Imam. Now, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, all these things he taught the Sahabas. With regards to when you are performing salah with one individual, once Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam held one of the Sahabas by their ear, pulled them around from the left side on the right side. This is how the Hanafis adopt that position. When we are performing salah with one individual, we place them on the right side, not on the left side or not in the back. If they are placed on the left side or the back without any reason, the salah will be valid, but it is disliked to do so without any valid reason. So the Imam, he must be ahead. No one can be ahead of the Imam with regards to the position of him. So much so, the scholars have mentioned, the Hanafi scholars have mentioned, even in Haram Sharif, when a person is performing salah and it is like a circle around the Imam, therefore no one can be ahead of the circle of the Imam, because there are different lines, sufuf, that are formed around the Holy Kaaba. But of course that is a unique example, because nowhere else in the world you will get a circle to perform salah. It's only because you have the Holy Kaaba right in front of the Imam there. So everyone will be in a circle, but just to show us the stringency that the scholars have mentioned, even in that instance, a person will not go ahead of the Imam. Now, in other masjids, it's very clear cut. With regards to being ahead of the Imam, either we are behind the Imam, either we are at the side of the Imam, or either we are ahead of the Imam. We cannot be ahead of the Imam. If we are ahead of the Imam, our salah will be invalid. And what is being mentioned here, there are two views. One view is that we can stand at the side of the Imam, exactly to the side, heel to heel. His heel is lined up with our heel. However, the precautious view is that our heel should be a little behind, so that in the duration of the salah, we do not go ahead of the salah and we break ahead of the Imam and our salah becomes broken. So this is why we will hear predominantly, according to the Hanafi scholars, we have our heels behind the heels of the Imam. So it will be that the Imam is in front and we will be in a position a little behind. Now, you have a situation whereby the follower, his feet is long and the Imam, his feet is short. What we are speaking about, my dear respected brothers and sisters, is not necessarily the excess of the toes and so on, but we are speaking about behind the foot, the heels, with regards to the lining up. So therefore, the Imam's heels must be either parallel to the heels of the Muqtadi, if it's one Muqtadi, or the Imam, his heels must be ahead of the heel of the follower. But if the follower's feet is ahead, that would not be permissible, and that's the Muqtadi salah will not be proper there. If the Muqtadi, he is side by side with the Imam, but he wears size 12 in shoes, and the Imam, he wears size 6, then of course you will have a difference with regards to the length. But the length there will not be a problem as long as the heels of the muqtadi and the follower is either side by side or a little back of the imam. So the muqtadi must not be ahead of the imam. The heels of the muqtadi must be behind the heels of the imam, or at least equal to that of the imam. A muqtadi can follow an imam whose state is equivalent or greater than that of the muqtadi. A muqtadi can follow an imam whose state is equivalent or greater than that of the muqtadi. That is, a person performing farz salah cannot follow a person performing nafil salah. Also, a person performing a particular farz salah cannot follow a person performing another farz salah. What happens is, my dear respected brothers and sisters, this comes from deductions from a hadith. The Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam says, Al-imamu dhaminun. The imam is responsible. When the imam is responsible, the question is, how does the imam become responsible for the people who follows him? He becomes responsible with regards to taking care of their salah, ensuring that their salah is in order. And this is why Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, which we will come to inshallah, even with regards to the sufuf and the lines of the salah, he would ensure that the lines of the salah is straight. So the imam is responsible to ensure that the lines are made straight. He is also responsible with regards to what he is leading here. It must be strong, and those who are following him can be at least equal or lesser in strength than what he is performing. What we mean by that, my dear respected brothers and sisters, is that a person cannot be performing nafil salah and the person following him is performing a salah of a stronger nature like that of farz salah. The person who is performing farz salah, his salah will be invalid, because a person who is performing farz salah, as we know with regards to farz salah, if we miss a farz salah, we have to make qadha of that salah. If we miss nafil salah, we don't have to make qadha of nafil salah. So that in itself shows us with regards to the emphasis, with regards to the strength of the salah in itself. So if the imam is performing nafil salah, people behind him cannot be performing farz salah. And let's take a practical example. We said that the person knew the person knew that a person was performing maghrib salah. He went and joined him, no problem. But a person comes in after that now. Both people have already completed their farz salah, or any Jamaat have completed their farz salah. A person comes in now and he thinks that the salah has not been completed. Why? Practically speaking, sometimes you go to a masjid, there's nobody there to perform salah. One person call the adhan, call the iqamah, and let the salah. Or it can happen, people left and this person is there performing his salat al-awwabin and so on after the maghrib salah, right? And now a person comes and joins the individual. Now of course a person will know a difference between two rakats and 4 rakats. But probably the person now thinks, I am a masbook, I am late. This person is performing 2 rakat of his sunnah salat after the maghrib salah, and a person joined him to perform the maghrib salah. And now he thinks, I got 2 with the imam, I have to stand up and perform 1 more rakat. When the person says Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, he realizes this person stands and completes 1 rakat, so something is wrong. After this person who stands up and performs his 1 rakat, he informs him, listen, I performed sunnah salah. What salah were you performing? He said, I was performing the farz of maghrib. This person was performing his sunnah of maghrib. The person who came in performed farz of maghrib. That is, the person who performed the farz salah, his salah is invalid. Why? He was performing fard, and he cannot follow a person who was performing sunnah or nafil. Right? So the person performing farz salah cannot follow a person performing nafil salah. And now also a person performing a particular farz salah cannot follow a person performing another farz salah. Practical example is that according to the Hanafi scholars, the Hanafi jurists, we will not do joining between two salah even though we are musafirin, generally speaking. So sometimes you are traveling, people will perform 2 rakat of fard, dhuhr, and then immediately after perform 2 rakat of fard, asr salah. The Hanafi jurists have mentioned that as long as it is before the first shadow of dhuhr, we are not allowed to join between dhuhr and asr. So therefore, we will not perform asr there, but we will perform asr in the asr timing. So sometimes you have people were not there when the imam started with his first takbir and the first 2 rakats. They went to make their wudu and washroom and they came. Now when they came, they saw the imam, Allahu Akbar, or they saw the imam reciting, well, not reciting qiraat. If it is dhuhr, it will be silent salah, for example. So they joined in with the imam. Afterwards, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Then time is passing and they are finding that nobody else is praying their asr. What's going on? Then they will come to realize that, look, these people already performed their asr. And then they will ask, how do you mean that you perform your asr? We didn't perform our asr yet, we performed dhuhr. They will say, no, we perform our asr. He said, but I only performed 2 rakats with you all. They will say that we performed 2 rakats before you and you got us in the last 2. So the 2 rakats that he got with the people was 2 rakats of asr because they were joining their salah. So that salah was asr salah for them. And to him it was dhuhr salah. So therefore his salah is not valid. Right? And that is just an example. Even if, right, in any instance whereby a person is performing farz salah, right, he cannot be following a person who is performing another farz salah. Whether it be the person made a mistake, they woke up, they did not understand what was going on, and they stood up and they started to perform maghrib salah, but it was asr timing, and people followed the imam. Those who came late, they just performed 1 rakat after thinking that, after the 3 rakats of the imam, thinking that they missed 1 rakat. Whatever have you, just by way of example, the imam was performing maghrib, they were performing asr. That cannot work in any way. The person who is leading the salah, the farz salah, the followers must be performing that particular farz salah also. So again, the muqtadi can follow an imam whose state is equivalent. The imam is performing dhuhr salah, we are also performing fard of dhuhr, or greater than that of the muqtadi. Now, when it says about greater than that of the muqtadi, it means that there was one instance wherein Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam performed this salah. After he performed the salah, he realized that there were 2 people behind who didn't perform salah with the Jama'ah. He sent to call them. They came, they were very frightened. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is calling them, and he asked them, why did you not perform salah with the Jama'ah? They said, O Messenger of Allah, we performed salah already. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam still said, if you find a Jama'ah, although you have performed the salah, then perform salah with the Jama'ah. According to the Hanafi jurists, this can only be done for dhuhr and isha salah, not fajr, not asr, nor maghrib. If we have performed our maghribs, if we have performed our, this hadith is indicating, if we have performed our salah already, whether in Jama'ah or by ourselves, then it is indicating we will perform that salah again if we find a Jama'at standing performing that salah. This is what the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam told these 2 companions who stayed in the back and they did not perform salah. According to the Hanafi jurists, this ruling will only go for dhuhr salah and isha salah, meaning We performed Dhuhr Salah in our Jama'ah. And then we came to this Jama'ah and Dhuhr Salah now started. First, we can join this Salah with the intention of Nafil because we already performed our Farz Salah. If we perform our Farz, we cannot get another Farz. Even if we perform our Farz alone and Jamaat is standing, when we come to perform the second Jamaat will not be our Farz. When I mean second Jamaat means that we performed our Farz at home, then we heard the adhan, we said, you know what, better I go masjid. When we come to the masjid and we perform Salah again, we cannot lead that Salah because we are not going to perform Fard. Although the Jamaat is going to perform Fard, we have already performed our Fard, and if we are going to follow the Jama'ah, it is going to be Nafil for us. It is going to be Nafil. So therefore, we cannot lead that Salah because we have already performed our Fard. Right? We have already performed our Farz Salah. So, we were speaking for us to understand this masla also, that, and this ruling, for the Isha Salah, we can do that. We performed our Isha Salah elsewhere. We thought we had to leave to catch a flight, but then we realized, no, I can go a later time. Adhan has already been called. I can wait a few hours again. Or the flight has delayed. I will come for Salah in Jama'ah. But we performed the Salah already. No problem if we come for the Salah in the Jama'ah. We can have the intention of Nafil following the Imam. Again, such a person cannot lead the Salah because they have already performed their Farz. So this is what is meant, my dear respected brothers and sisters. The Muqtadi can follow the Imam whose state is equivalent or greater than that of the Muqtadi. Because when that Muqtadi who is going to perform going to perform again his Dhuhr and Isha Salah, he already performed it already, so he will perform Nafil now. He will make the intention of following the Imam, and that will be Nafil for him, optional. So his status is lower and the status of the Imam is higher. So this is what is meant, that the Muqtadi can follow an Imam whose state is equivalent. Both of them are performing the same Dhuhr Salah, same Isha Salah, or greater than that of the Muqtadi. I am performing Nafil because I perform my Salah already at home, but the Imam is going to lead Farz. Now, we mentioned that we can only do that for Dhuhr and Isha Salah. Why? For the Fajr Salah, Nabi alayhi salatu wassalam mentioned, La salata ba'da al-fajri hatta tatlu' ash-shams. There is no Salah after the Fajr Salah until the sun rises. So we don't even perform Nafil Salah after the Farz. So we perform the two Farz. Fajr at home. For example, person was at home, they were very sleepy, they worked for the entire night. Not saying what is best to do or not best to do. We are just giving examples at random, inshallah. The person thought, I cannot really make it at all to go to masjid. I am going to fall asleep even if I am standing. So let me perform my sunnah and my fard. The person performed the sunnah and the fard at home. Then they perform their sunnah and fard, and it's like they drank coffee. They cannot sleep anymore. Now they thought, well, I can come to the masjid. They cannot come to the masjid and perform salah anymore. They have already performed sunnah and farz. As a matter of fact, even with regards to sunnah, Nabi alayhi salatu wassalam, when the break of dawn came in, the subh as-sadiq, he never performed any, he only performed 2 rakats, and he did not perform salah beyond 2 rakats. So this is why it is mentioned, for the Fajr Salah, when we perform 2 sunnah, we don't perform any nafil after that. Yes, Qadha Salah, we can perform Qadha Salah. That is wajib, that is a higher status of Salah. We can perform Qadha Salah. Witr Salah, we miss that in the night, ma'adallah. We miss the Witr Salah, that is wajib. We can make Qadha of it in the Fajr timing. Naam? But as long as the break of dawn comes in, we perform 2 sunnah and 2 fard. No other salah in that time. No tahiyatul masjid, no tahiyatul wudu, according to the Hanafi scholars. Now, that was for the Fajr Salah. As we said, we perform Fajr, cannot perform Fajr again. We can only perform Dhuhr and Asr. Dhuhr and Isha. Why can we not perform the Maghrib Salah after we have performed it? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam forbade from a Salah known as Butaira. And Salatul Butaira means the performance of Nafil Salah in odd numbers. We do not stand and perform 1 rakat. We do not stand and perform 3 rakat. We do not stand and perform 5 rakat. We perform 2, 4, 6, etc. Odd numbers we do not perform in odd numbers. Rakat Salah in odd numbers. The Maghrib Salah that is there, yes. Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam forbade from Butaira. So we will not come and perform our Maghrib Salah again. If we perform the Maghrib Salah, that is it. Cannot come and follow the Imam who is performing Maghrib Salah again with the intention of Nafil. We cannot do that. The Asr Salah, we cannot also, if we perform the Asr Salah, we cannot follow the Imam who is going to perform Asr Salah again with the intention of Nafil. Why? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam also said, La salata ba'dal asri hatta taghrub ash-shams. There is no salah after the Asr Salah until the sun sets. So after Asr, no salah. We do not perform any salah after the Asr Salah. As a matter of fact, even the Hanafi jurists have mentioned, when we are going to set the Asr time, if we want to perform Nafil Salah before, perform it a little later. Not to the makruh time of Asr, but we can perform Nafil Salah before. And then when we perform the Farz, that's it. No other Salah until after sunset. Right? No other Salah until after sunset. I hope I'm not confusing anyone, inshallah. Right? So, as we were saying, as we are going along and other things are coming up, we are mentioning those things also. We mentioned that a person can follow, the Muqtadi can follow the Imam who is equivalent, that is straightforward, performing Salah with the Imam for any Farz Salah, and we did not perform that Salah. Fajr, Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, Isha, same state. But with regards to the Imam being greater than that of the Muqtadi, the Imam's Salah is Fard, our Salah is Nafil. And we explained that we can only do that for the Dhuhr and Isha, not Fajr, not Asr, not Maghrib. There is one tradition that indicates that Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, he performed 2 rakats after the Asr Salah. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, when he was asked about it, right, in a nutshell, when he was asked about it, he said to his wife that this was the 2 rakats that he missed from after the Dhuhr Salah. He made qadha of it after the Asr Salah. The Sahabas in another tradition asked, O Messenger of Allah, can we do so also? Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam said no. So the Hanafi scholars have mentioned that that was something specific to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Though there are some traditions that give indication there was continuity of those 2 rakats on a regular basis, the Hanafi scholars have mentioned different interpretations as to why Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did it himself, but the Sahabas never did it like that, and nor did he allow them to do that. And there are different actions that was permissible for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that was not allowed for their companions. A person cannot follow a masbuk. A masbuk is a person who completes the missed portion of a salah after the imam has completed the congregational salah. Now, we have, with regards to salah, you have a mudrik, you have a lahiq, and you have a masbuk. A mudrik is one who finds the salah from beginning to end. He finds the salah from beginning to end with the imam. When the imam says, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, he will also say, Assalamu alaikum. But there's another person The easier one first, the masbook. He performed salah with the imam, but he missed 1 rakat or 2 rakats or 3 rakats, any amount of rakats as the case may be. He found at least the last sitting with the imam. He got the salah of the imam before the imam can say, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. He sat down with the imam. So now he will stand to complete his salah. He is known as a masbook. He is known as a masbook, a latecomer to salah. When he stands up to complete his salah, no one can come in and join him and follow him as the imam, nor can any other masbook who is next to him follow him as the imam of the salah. Every masbook will complete their salah alone. So the ruling is, my dear respected brothers and sisters, the masbook is a person who comes late for salah. When he completes his missed portion of salah, he will complete it as an individual, but he cannot lead anybody there, nor can anyone follow them. Nor can anyone follow them. The lahiq, as we have mentioned, the lahiq is a person who found takbiratul ula with the imam, or he found some portion with the imam, but he broke his wudu and he went to perform wudu and come back to join the salah. To make it simple, he was performing 2 rakats fajr. And we spoke about bina upon salah, building upon the salah. Whosoever experiences nosebleed, hadith of Abu Dawood, nosebleed or vomiting, let him go, make wudu, come back and build upon the salah. He started Allahu Akbar with the imam. He passed his wind unintentionally. He went to make wudu, come back. But by the time he came back, the imam had already completed 1 rakat. Last rakat the imam is on. But this person, again with the conditions of the lahiq, of bina upon salah, he did not speak. He did not go to a further place to make wudu, bypassing a closer place to make wudu. Rulings like these. He went right there, made wudu and came back. Right? And he found the imam performing the 2nd rakat. How much rakats he missed? 1. But because he is doing bina upon salah, there's a difference between his salah and the salah of the masbook. The masbook, the latecomer, he will stand up and recite Quran as usual and complete his salah. The person who came in because he missed 1 rakat with the imam, he found the 2nd rakat, he will stand up, thana, ta'awwud, tasmiyah, surah al-Fatiha, another surah, go down as usual. That's the masbook. But the lahiq, he found Allahu Akbar with the imam reciting qiraat. He broke his wudu unintentionally, went to make wudu, come back. But he missed the 1st rakat with the imam. The imam is now in the 2nd rakat. When the imam says, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, this person who is called the lahiq, he will stand up. And for the lahiq, the ruling is that there is no qiraat. He will not recite any qiraat. He will stand for the amount of time to recite at least 3 verses inshallah, and then he will go Allahu Akbar and continue until the end, have everything, the tasbihat and at-tahiyat and darul, he will recite all these things as usual. So that is the lahiq. Of course, that can be something confusing. It can be something that if a person did make a mistake, he was going outside and he bounced his toe and he said, ouch, right? That will break his salah. It will break the continuity of him going and make wudu and come back. So therefore, if a person breaks his wudu, he goes out there and mashallah, he wants to start over his salah, he will start back with Allahu Akbar when he comes back and finish as a normal masbook inshallah. Right? So that is with regards to the lahiq, the mudrik, the lahiq and the masbook. when we are following the Imam, there must also be continuity of the sufuf and the lines. Between the Imam and the Muqtadi, there must be no separation as a road, a river, or such a wall that causes doubts in the posture of the Imam by the prevention of sound or vision. If, however, the road is also used for rows of the congregation, then such a road will not be considered as a separation. It will not be permissible for the Imam to be on one boat and the Muqtadi on another boat, unless two boats are tied together. For example, if a masjid or a house is extremely large, and a person is in a large jungle or in the desert, the open desert, and there is such an open space between the Imam and the Muqtadi, wherein they have the Hanafi jurists have considered a space of two safs, then these places would be considered as separate places, where the Muqtadi is standing way beyond and the Imam is standing two lines ahead. It will be considered as separate places, and it will not be permissible to follow the Imam. So what is being said here, my dear respected brothers and sisters, when we are following an Imam, we must be connected to sufuf in order that our salah be in order. There must not be a big gap, like two lines away from the Imam, and then we form sufuf, or there's a big partition in between. We cannot see the Imam as is mentioned here. Otherwise, our following of the Imam will not be valid. Again, it is mentioned here that there must be no separation as a road or a river. Right? A road, the Imam is on one side, the followers on another side. Or there is some followers with the Imam, and on the other side of the river there are other followers. Those followers who are with the Imam, their salah is in order. But those Muqtadis who are so far behind, they are on the other side of the river, their salah will not be valid. Or a wall. Nowadays, mashallah, we have microphone systems, we have loudspeakers, etc. So this can work if there's a wall, but there's also continuity, right? There's continuity of the sufuf. It can work there, inshallah, because we can hear the Imam. This condition of the wall not being permissible for the follower to follow the Imam is when there is doubts. The person who is behind the wall, he does not know what position the Imam is in. So there must not be such a separation or a barricade that prevents the knowing of where the Imam is in his salah, or a person cannot be standing up, according to the Hanafi scholars, two safs behind a line whereby now they would be considered as standing in a separate place. If that is the case, my dear respected brothers and sisters, then if that is the case, it would be that they are considered not in the same majma or the same gathering of the Imam, and their following the Imam there would not be considered as permissible. Similarly, if there is a river between the Imam and the Muqtadi, and it is so large that a ship can sail on it, or there is such a large pond which the Sharia has ruled as being pure, in other words, that which the Sharia has considered to be 10 by 10, or there is a public road on which an ox wagon could pass, and there are no safs in between, then these places would not be considered as one, and it would not be permissible to follow the Imam. Right? So there must be continuity of the sufuf in order for us to follow the Imam. Otherwise, my dear respected brothers and sisters, according to Maulana Ashraf Ali Thanwi rahmatullahi alayhi and Bahishti Ziwar, and according to the other Hanafi scholars also, if there is a difference of two sufuf in between our following the Imam, then that would cause our salah to be invalid. If there is a road in between, there's a river in between, we cannot follow the people on the other side. So we will stop here for today, inshallah. Next day we will continue with more on Salah in congregation, inshallah. Jazakumullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
أشكو